What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to be starting off the beginning of a new series. This is going to be about Venus through all 12 of the signs and some compatibility for each one of those 12 signs. This video in particular is about having Venus in Aries and 4 of the top most compatible and a few of the least compatible Venus signs with Venus in Aries. So just a brief overview of Venus inside a person's birth chart. So Venus is the planet of love and beauty. The sign does show how you approach really relationships, romance, and even what your personal values are. And when it comes to your Venus sign, this really does show an overall, it's almost like a love style, even just how you would approach social situations and the nature surrounding that. Your Venus sign does show who you're attracted to, how you express affection, just really shows what your desires would be in a relationship, that is. To find out your Venus, you don't necessarily need your time of birth, but you just do need your date of birth and your location. So somebody has their Venus in Aries, these people tend to be very passionate, they tend to be people who bring the excitement. They can also be quite spontaneous. And they really are bold when it comes to being able to go after love and being able to get things started. A Venus in Aries would be very comfortable with even being in position to be the person who initiates things and takes the lead when it comes to starting a relationship, or really being able to go up to a person and start things in the relationship. Even if she's a woman, she's not going to be afraid to take the lead or to be the one to really initiate. Venus in Aries person is someone who can be very impulsive though. These people are also very brave, they're very courageous, they're the types who really aren't afraid to jump in. And a lot of times Venus in Aries person can fall in love quite quickly. The thing about the Venus in Aries people is that they know what they want, and they're not afraid to go after what they want. And they can have very little tolerance or patience for somebody who wavers or somebody who is in an indecisive state when it comes to being able to know what they want and go and take action in that direction with them. With Venus in Aries, you are bringing a Mars-ruled planet into Venus. So it can also be that they tend to be a little bit aggressive. They very fiercely go after love. And that can be really sexy to a lot of people. That drive, that knowing what they want, and that certainty of this is what they want, and they put action behind it, and their passionate nature. There's a romantic side to them as well. For a Venus in Aries sign, these people sometimes need a lot of stimulation because they thrive on, or they really enjoy being able to experience a relationship in its fresh and new phase. That's exciting to them. They can be the ones to get hooked on the chase and really enjoy being able to experience a little bit of some pushback. They don't want it to be too easy, but not too difficult either. But they do enjoy being able to experience the thrill of the chase when it comes to being able to get something. And when it comes to the relationship, they do enjoy that feeling of the newness and the freshness in the relationship. And so to keep things exciting in a relationship, they do need stimulation in the relationship. And that feeling of that newness and that freshness to actually be something that is kind of a constant in the relationship. They're also very independent and they can get a lot done on their own. With Aries here, these people, they're not afraid to put themselves first, and they go after what they want, and they do move very quickly, but they also have this side of them that's very spontaneous as well, and they really thrive off of that excitement. And they bring that excitement as well. They're a lot of fun, and the Venus in Aries is likely to be very successful when it comes to any kind of ventures that they try to pursue, especially when it comes to the career side of things and when it comes to business, because they have that risk-taking ability and they're very brave and courageous, and that drive. And this is a really great skill and trait to have in that field, because they know what they want and they feel that everybody should know what they want. They have very little tolerance for that being in and out or wavering kind of energy, because they themselves are all in when they're trying to pursue something. In love, they need a partner who encourages the fun and adventurous side in them, and that kid at heart that they actually really are. They do really enjoy being able to experience excitement in a relationship, and that sense of there being something new in the relationship. If you're in a relationship with a Venus in Aries, they do ride for their relationships. So their friendships, their family, their partners. And when it comes to the romantic side of things, they're actually very big romantics at heart. And the nice thing about the Venus in Aries is that they have the confidence to be able to express that to you. So you'll always know where you stand with a Venus in Aries. So when it comes to the compatibility with a Venus in Aries, some Venus signs that are just generally more compatible with the Venus in Aries would have to be a Venus in Leo, a Venus in Sagittarius, and a Venus in Gemini, and I'd also say a Venus in Aquarius. So why Venus in Leo with Venus in Aries? Well, to start with, Venus in Aries and Venus in Leo are both in fire signs. So they do have this fundamentally in common. Also, when it comes to the Venus in Leo, they do have this natural trait of leadership. And Venus in Aries has this desire and need to be in the lead when it comes to being able to take the lead of things. And so they can complement each other in this role together. Also, the Venus in Leo is also very much excited and into being able to experience the adventurous side of things, and the Venus in Aries is also after that. And also the Venus in Leo is also very attracted to bold personalities, and Venus in Aries tends to be somewhat of a bold personality too. And both the Venus in Leo person and Venus in Aries person are willing to take the risk for the sake of the thrill of the moment. The Venus in Aries person is somebody who really can be very straightforward. They don't hold back. And both the Venus in Aries person and the Venus in Leo person, they can have some very strong opinions between the two of them. So some arguments can happen, and it can get to a very dramatic level. When it comes to Venus in Sagittarius and Venus in Aries, this is a really great match. These two signs are very compatible. So for the Venus in Sagittarius, they have this very independent side. They also can be very freedom seeking and also enjoy exploration and adventure that the Venus in Aries person also very much values. And so the two of them can really work, especially because they also are able to give each other just the right amount of space, and it comes naturally when it comes to their relationship. For the Venus in Aries person and the Venus in Sagittarius person, they will experience a lot of excitement and even being able to experience the kind of relationship that is kind of unforgettable, even if it's short-lived for some reason. So for the Venus in Sagittarius person, what they find very attractive and they are very drawn to in the Venus in Aries person is how the Venus in Aries person is so straightforward, so honest, and it's almost to a fault, but they also like that no-nonsense attitude that the Venus in Aries person has. Both of these signs are full of energy as well, and they like to experience that spontaneousness in a relationship and that excitement. Both the Sagittarius Venus and the Venus in Aries people do both seek and do value. So when it comes to what may create any kind of tension or conflicts in this relationship between the Venus and Aries person and the Venus in Sagittarius person might be, when it comes to the Venus in Sagittarius person, may kind of give the Venus in Aries person the impression that they want to keep their options open. The Venus in Aries person has this idea of this one and only partner, this soulmate. And so if the Venus in Sagittarius person makes the Venus in Aries person feel like the Venus in Aries person is not their one and only, or they don't look at it like that, so this can actually kind of hurt the Venus in Aries person's ego, and the Venus in Aries person can even get jealous when it comes to the Venus in Sagittarius person, almost kind of wanting to keep things open. And the Venus in Aries person really likes the chase. They do like that thrill of the chase, but the Venus in Sagittarius person is willing to give that to them. But if they take it too far, the Venus in Aries person reaches this point of feeling as though it's hopeless. And once they get to that point, the Venus in Aries person has little patience, and they will be done quickly when they feel like it's unrequited. The Venus in Aries person can even enjoy chasing after the Venus in Sagittarius person for a little while, but when they sense that it's hopeless, the Venus in Aries person really has very little patience for unrequited love. So it's not likely that they'll stick around for too long. Now, when it comes to the Venus in Gemini and Venus in Aries, this is also a great match. The Venus in Gemini is a air sign, and so the Venus in Aries can really appreciate the Venus in Gemini's. Their very clever and very witty side is something that can be very attractive to the Venus in Aries person. At the same time, the Venus in Gemini is very drawn to the side of the Venus in Aries that's so confident and so bold, and this relationship has this very playful side to it. Just like the Venus in Aries person, the Venus in Gemini person doesn't really appreciate anything that brings about boredom, and this is what they have in common, and their relationship can be one that's very exciting, and it is also one that can start very quickly, and even on a very exciting note. The Venus in Aries person and the Venus in Gemini person can actually experience a lot of laughter and a lot of fun in this relationship. The Venus in Gemini person is very well connected and can have a lot of friends and a lot of associations, and sometimes the Venus in Aries person can feel as though they're competing with those many connections for the Venus in Gemini person's attention. But them two themselves are very fast friends, and they have a lot of great times together. And when it comes to the way in which they're very straightforward, the Venus in Aries person is very straightforward, and the Venus in Gemini person also prefers this and appreciates that about their partner. But when the Venus in Gemini person can sometimes come across as if they're playing mind games, this can be something that the Venus in Aries person might actually feel is something that they don't appreciate about their partner. The Venus in Aries person really appreciates the chase, and they can enjoy that, but they don't have a lot of patience or a lot of tolerance for mind games. So when they feel or sense that the Venus in Gemini person is playing a mind game with them, that is when the problem can start, and they're not afraid to end the relationship. And then when it comes to Venus in Aquarius and Venus in Aries, this can make a very great match, especially because both Venus in Aries and Venus in Aquarius do appreciate and value independence. And there's an unconventional side to Venus in Aquarius, and it also resides in the Venus in Aries person. And the Venus in Aries person really appreciates this in the Venus in Aquarius person. The Venus in Aquarius person, to a lot of people, can come off as being aloof and being in their own world at times, but to the Venus in Aries person, this is something that they can appreciate about their partner, and they are able to give each other enough room to breathe in this relationship, and they're really able to make that work. Sometimes Venus in Aquarius can be unpredictable, and that unpredictability and that Venus in Aries love for spontaneity can actually work quite well together as well. They're very tolerant of each other's quirkiness in this relationship, and there's a lot of positivity. They just appreciate each other and they have respect for each other and what they bring to each other. And when it comes to the Venus signs that can be less compatible with a Venus in Aries, those might be more so Venus in water signs and Venus in earth signs, with exception to a Venus in Scorpio that can work, and a Venus in Libra can also be in there. However, these signs can also be compatible with the Venus in Aries. Other factors do also make a difference and also count. That is really entirely up to the person who has the sign, and there's also other factors that also factor in, like the moon sign or the Mars sign. So with Venus in Pisces is very different. They can be very hard to understand by the Venus in Aries sign, and the Venus in Aries will have to have a lot of patience with the Venus in Pisces. Also, Venus in Pisces can be very sensitive, and Venus in Aries can kind of make the Venus in Pisces feel very insensitive, because the Venus in Pisces might need more compassion, understanding, patience. But when it comes to the Venus in Cancer, the Venus in Cancer can also want something that's a bit more gentle when it comes to the way that they approach their relationships with the Venus in Aries. And the Venus in Aries and Venus in Cancer can ultimately have the same vision when it comes to the picture of what they want in a relationship. But the Venus in Cancer can kind of feel overwhelmed by the Venus in Aries' very independent side and very straightforward or very direct approach. And so they can just have very different ways of expressing. They can have very different love languages. And so there could be a need for putting in time and really learning each other in this relationship. And with the Venus in Scorpio, both the Venus in Scorpio and Venus in Aries are both ruled by the planet Mars. And so they can make this work. They could be different, and they can have some arguments, or they can have some very different places that they're coming from. But if they're able to really, first of all, come together, they are able to actually make this work. With the Venus in Taurus, this could be somewhat difficult, because the Venus in Taurus has their own ideas of how they want the relationship to go. And the Venus in Aries, of course, also knows what they want, and they have their idea. So the Venus in Taurus is also more likely to want to take things slower than a Venus in Aries. So the relationship can kind of have a bit of a contrast in that way. And the thing with the Venus in Virgo is that the Venus in Virgo is not necessarily looking for that same stimulation that Venus in Aries feels as though they need in the relationship. And the Venus in Virgo can be more concerned with the security and that stability. And so Venus in Virgo is going to need Venus in Aries to reassure them quite a lot in this relationship. And with the Venus in Capricorn can be very serious, just in their demeanor and in just the way they approach things, compared to the way Venus in Aries is really approaching relationships and love. And so Venus in Capricorn wants to be able to focus on the more practical side of things, and Venus in Aries does bring fun to them. And finally, the Venus in Libra with the Venus in Aries. So with the Venus in Libra and Venus in Aries can actually be opposites, and things can really go either way with these two. The Venus in Libra tends to really like to reason things out, which means that can really slow them down, which is kind of different to the Venus in Aries, who's more so when they want something, they kind of go after it, and they are more certain, and they also move a little bit quicker than the Venus in Libra. And also with the Venus in Libra, the Venus in Libra is not necessarily as independent when it comes to love. They more so want this balanced partnership. So that does it for this video on having Venus in Aries. And stay tuned for the next video where I will be continuing this series and I'll be looking at Venus in Taurus. If the video was helpful to you or if it was entertaining, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to the channel. This is where I live and leave you. Thank you for watching and catch you in the next video.